Heroes die. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a great many of them are resurrected, only to die another day, only to be brought back to life again, and only to die yet again another time, again and again. This cycle of life and death is one of the great certainties of the superhero genre. The X-Men movies are no different. Since the first X-Men film came out in 2000, our mutant heroes have put their lives on the line numerous times and made the ultimate sacrifice to fulfill their dreams. For most of them, this dream is to peacefully coexist with the humans who fear and hate them. In today's video, we'll be exploring some of the most fascinating, tragic, and impactful deaths in the X-Men movies. Many of these deaths are permanent, which in itself makes them legendary. For those that aren't as final, they still hit hard because of the sacrifices made and the price paid. So before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe, and also hit the bell notification to stay in the loop for all of my future videos. Anyway, keep the tissues ready, because here are the top 10 X-Men deaths in movies.
Adapt to this.
The first mutant to die in X-Men First Class takes the 10th spot on the list. The 2011 movie is quite famous among Marvel fans for having a rather large body count, but it's the death of Darwin that's the most tragically memorable. When the evil Sebastian Shaw attempts to recruit him and his fellow mutants, Darwin takes the lead in fighting the supervillain. Unfortunately, his plan backfires. Shaw uses Havoc's energy blast and redirects it at Darwin, making him combust internally. Despite his power of adaptation, Darwin can do little to escape this fatal attack. Darwin's death upset a lot of fans at the time, with many of them questioning the need to kill off the black character first in a major Hollywood movie. While the reasons for his death are open to interpretation, what's certain is the impact it leaves. It's always hard watching a promising young life come to an abrupt end, and that's how it was with Darwin too. Up next is Blink, killed by the mutant hunting sentinels in X-Men Days of Future Past. Technically, Clarice Ferguson aka Blink dies not once but twice in this 2014 release. Both deaths are later erased as a result of the movie's complicated timelines and time travel. However, for this list, we're counting her death during the Free Mutants' last stand against the Sentinels. Blink, played by the Chinese superstar Fan Bingbing, has a really cool power which she can create portals to an alternate space and teleport herself and her companions there in the blink of an eye. What makes her special is that she uses her powers not just to fight the killer bots, but mostly to protect her fellow mutants. In her last selfless act, she manages to teleport Magneto to safety, but is impaled by the Sentinels as she tries to hold them off. As one of the new mutants introduced to the film, Blink makes an impact both with her abilities and her sacrifice. At number 8, we have the death of a fallen angel. A founding member of the X-Men who later becomes one of Apocalypse's 4 horsemen, Angel is one of the most troubled of the X-Men characters, and that's saying something considering the number of tortured souls who inhabit his world. Despite his privileged background and good looks, Angel has struggled with torture, rejection, abandonment, and depression his whole life. In 2016's X-Men Apocalypse, we first see him as a drunk and defeated cage fighter. His life gains purpose only when he's recruited by Apocalypse and given new and improved powers. It's perhaps ironic that despite his original power of flight and the mighty bladed wings given to him by the ancient mutant, Angel dies in a jet crash in the film. Surely he could have just flown away from the jet before it hit the ground and went up in flames. We'll never know, but his painful life and unceremonious death make it one of the saddest endings. Next, we have the death of Iceman in X-Men Days of Future Past. It comes soon after the Sentinels have killed Blink during the final fight. As the robots try to bring down the barrier put up by Magneto, Iceman uses his powers to fortify it, but his efforts are in vain and he soon meets his end as the Sentinels shoot hot energy blasts at him and decapitate him. Ouch. Days of Future Past is certainly not Bobby Drake's finest hour. In the movie, it's strongly implied that the Ice Manipulator cheats on his long-term girlfriend Rogue with Shadowcat. With his sacrifice, he reclaims some of the love he might have lost among his fans. Luckily for him, the movie's altered future shows him alive and well at the end, even holding hands with Rogue. Even then, it's difficult to forget the vision of the Sentinels crushing his frozen head into a million pieces. That itself makes Iceman's death memorable. Scott Summers' death in X-Men The Last Stand. The Last Stand is the next entry on this list. Since Jean Grey's death in X-Men 2, Cyclops just isn't himself anymore. Overcome with grief, he leaves the Xavier mansion and travels to Alkali Lake where Jean Grey died. There he feels her presence calling out to him. By a sudden twist of fate, Jean Grey materializes in front of him, alive. Scott's happiness is short-lived though, as the person in front of him isn't the woman he loved, but the Phoenix, Jean Grey's malevolent alter ego whom she has little control over. When the X-Men rush to the lake on sensing the Cyclops is in danger, all they can find are his glasses. The Hollywood grapevine has it that Cyclops was unceremoniously killed off in The Last Stand because James Marsden, the actor playing him, was filming another film and had a scheduling conflict. Whatever the reason, the death of one of the X-Men's most recognized faces at the hands of his lover still makes for a great goodbye. At number 5, we have a continuation of the bloodbath that is X-Men Days of Future Past. This time, it's 2 deaths instead of 1. After a frenzied battle against the mutant-killing Sentinels, the X-Men finally think they have the upper hand. But no. There's disaster heading their way. A stray Sentinel sneaks up on Storm and, catching her off guard, stabs her and throws her off a cliff. When Bishop tries to fight back, more Sentinels arrive and bombard him with energy beams until he gets overcharged and explodes. In the blink of an eye, the tide changes and the X-Men are now at a severe disadvantage with 2 of their allies gone. After the future gets rewritten, Storm makes it out of the movie alive and we see her in the future as an instructor at the Academy. Given that Storm has been a mainstay of the X-Men universe since the first movie came out, her return was perhaps inevitable. Bishop's fate isn't as clear though. Logically, he ought to have also made it back safely.
Logan.
And coming in at number 4 is Charles Xavier's death in Logan, a movie so steeped in tragedy that it broke our collective hearts when it hit theaters in 2017. Professor X's death isn't that much of a surprise, perhaps because it isn't the first time he's died. If you can count the movies and the comics, the good professor has met the Grim Reaper an astounding 10 times. With such a track record, death number 11 should have been just a footnote. Yet, when it happens, it hurt like hell, because it has none of the casual approach to death the Marvel movies are infamous for, because it's permanent, because it's yet another painful moment in a series of painful moments that Wolverine must go through. What's more devastating to watch, more than Xavier dying an old and frail man in his bed, is Logan burying him in an unmarked grave. There's no ceremony, but plenty of raw emotion as one of the most beloved mentors in the superhero movies is laid to rest. Time for more major characters to be killed off. Kicking off the top 3 is Mystique's death at the hands of Jean Grey in 2019's Dark Phoenix. The Dark Phoenix saga is among the most beloved X-Men storylines. It follows Jean Grey's transformation into one of the franchise's most powerful and conflicted characters as she gives in to her inner Phoenix. Very early on in the movie, we see the inner conflict between the ruthless Phoenix and the tormented Jean Grey. It culminates in Mystique's death as the Phoenix Force overpowers Jean Grey and makes her kill her friend and ally. Having dropped all of her defenses, Mystique fails to see the threat the Phoenix poses, not only to herself, but to all of the X-Men, until it's too late. Many fans were upset with Mystique's rather tame end, blaming it on Jennifer Lawrence's contract to play the blue-skinned shapeshifter coming to an end. Whatever the reason, Mystique has been a huge part of the X-Men world since the very beginning, and her death counts as one of its biggest events. And that brings us to number 2. And it's probably the most traumatic death in X-Men history, more than Jean Grey killing her lover or her mentor. But this time the tables are turned and it's Jean Grey who dies, and it's Wolverine who kills her. Coincidentally, all this killing and dying happens in the same movie, 2006 The Last Stand. As we mentioned previously, Jean Grey's transformation into the Phoenix turns her into a killing machine who sees no difference between friend and enemy. She just mows them down. That's how she ends up killing Cyclops and Professor X. But when the real Jean Grey surfaces, she's traumatized by all she's done and her inability to control her alter ego. In one of these moments, she begs Wolverine to kill her in order to save herself and everybody else from, well, her. her. And painful as it is, Logan fulfills the last wish of the woman he's always loved. Jean Grey is another one of those X-Men characters who's died and been resurrected countless times, but her helpless desperation still makes her death in The Last Stand one of the saddest moments in the X-Men movies. It's now time to unveil our top pick. And there's no points for guessing this one. It's Logan, beloved to us all as Wolverine. In 2017's Logan, which is one of the most exceptional superhero movies ever made, the Wolverine we know and love is a shadow of his former self. The film focuses almost obsessively on his long life of suffering and pain. It carries such a feeling of finality and foreboding that it's very obvious to anyone watching that there's only sorrow to be found here, which it painstakingly delivers in every weary footstep, every raspy breath, and every blood-curdling scream. That sorrow comes to a head when it's time for Wolverine to lay down his weary life fighting for one last battle. The metal claws tearing his tired body to shreds don't hurt as much as the flicker of relief, even happiness, we see light up his face briefly before he embraces his death. It's a tragically befitting end for arguably the most loved hero in the X-Men universe. Equally important, it's also a brilliant curtain call by Hugh Jackman, capping a 17-year career playing the clawed hero. Most of all, it's a death that signals that Wolverine's legacy lives on. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed watching it, press like. If you're a superhero junkie, you can also subscribe to my channel for more content and top 10s like this one. I'd really appreciate it. You can also give me a shout out in the comments section or share your thoughts on the video. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you next time on the TV Regent.